It was so windy at the beach, it was absolutely ridiculous. To say that it's spring and it was a glorious day, sunshine, it was super windy, like blowing all over, but it was a really good time to blow the cobwebs off. I had real hard trouble holding the phone. This is why it's all over the place, because of the wind. Lancaster is a historical city in the northwest of England, and the buildings here are just so beautiful. I absolutely adore living in Lancaster. There's trees everywhere, there's all lovely bricks, and it just is such a nice city. It feels more like a town, and there's all quirky things like this water fountain that you can see all over. It is a really beautiful place. We've been totally blessed lately with some really beautiful spring days, and we went to the park and the blossom is out and it's absolutely gorgeous. The birds were singing, the sun was shining, blue skies. It's just such a lovely place to visit. This is Williamson's Park in Lancaster. If you've been following me for a while, you will know how much I love moss. And we went to visit Tom's place of work, which is a university campus. And that's a weird place to visit, but we went to look because it's absolutely full of moss and has some gorgeous plants around the pond as well. And then we saw this gorse bush, and it smells so much of coconut. It's absolutely lovely. Gorse is a really beautiful thing that you can use in your cooking to make abundance bread. Hello beauties, thank you for all my love on my pond video. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed making that video as well, and going out every morning and looking at the frogs to see what they're doing, seeing how big they're getting. So today I thought I'd come and talk to you about planting by the moon and how I plant my seeds. So first of all, this is talking about vegetable seeds. And things you're not allergic to, so don't go doing this with random flower seeds because that'd be really weird. But there's something that I want to share with you that you might not know. If you get a seed, so these are courgette ones, so things that you're going to eat and that you know that you're alright and safe to eat. If you get a seed and you pop it under your tongue and hold it there for a little bit. This is harder to talk with a seed underneath. I'll just wait a sec. When you take it out, that seed's read your DNA. I'm going to plant this quickly into my pot. So the seed reads your DNA in your body, reads your body in the way that it knows the minerals and vitamins and things like that you are lacking, and then when that plant grows it has more of those things that you are lacking in it than if you just took it out of the packet and planted it in the soil. I mean, what kind of miracle is that? Isn't that amazing? So that seed reads your body and thinks, oh, you're missing out on this and you're missing out on that. So when that vegetable grows, it grows more of what you need. Isn't that just incredible? Isn't that amazing? It's so amazing. I learned that a few years ago. Fantastic. So like I say, you can do that with anything that you can eat, and yep, just pop it under your tongue, hold it there for a little few seconds, let it do its magic and read your body, and then pop it straight into the soil. So today I'm planting courgette seeds and I'm planting peas in tubs. I don't know if you can see them. These are going to go on my windowsill in my bedroom because it's really bright in there until they grow to a nice size, and then they can go out into the garden. But I wanted to talk to you about planting with the moon. So planting with the moon is using the moon cycles to plant your crops and your flowers and everything and garden by the moon to get the best results. Now a few years ago, when I learnt about this, I tried it because I thought, well, rubbish, that ain't going to work. This was before I knew about how the moon can affect our cycles and that we're all cyclical and seasons and all this kind of stuff, before I really delved into it all. And I thought this is not going to make much difference at all. So what I did was I planted, it was courgettes actually, I planted some courgette seeds on the correct day, which I'll tell you about in a little bit, and I planted some on the day that wasn't correct. Now they both grew, of course, because that's what seeds want to do, don't they? They want to grow. But the ones that I'd planted on the right day of the moon, it was so much bigger. So much bigger. I couldn't believe it actually, and stronger. Really, like, I just couldn't believe the difference. I've got a picture of it somewhere. Yeah, I just couldn't believe it. So since then, that's what I've been doing, and I tell you what, it works. Sometimes I don't do it. I just think, oh, it'd be alright. And you know what? The crops are never as good. They either get eaten, it's weird, because they either get eaten or they fail, or they just produce a few shoots or fruits or veg or whatever. But the ones where I do it on the correct days, they grow so much better. So let me tell you about that. So this is all about gardening by the moon. Now if you haven't heard of gardening by the moon, basically it's about using the moon phases to see when is the best time to plant veg and fruit and flowers and when to harvest and all things like that. And it's been going on for thousands of years, where people follow the moon to see when they should be doing these things. And then as time's gone on and we've lost that connection, and we've lost a lot of the old ways, and not getting into anything too heavy, but you know, as white man has gone over and colonised places, there's been a lot of disconnection between what's going on in the world and what goes on with the moon and everything else. So this is something that I've been doing for a while now, and I absolutely love it. And to be honest, I was gonna plant some seeds today, and then I was like, oh, maybe I should do a video on this because maybe other people will be interested in it too. I often forget the stuff that I've learned that I do now, as it just happens to me naturally, that at one point I didn't know any of that. So this is about it. So I've done it really simple and easy so we can follow along, and I'm a really visual person, so this is why I've done a diagram, and I've just realised it looks like a big smile. So on the new moon, we are starting to go into a full moon. So the new moon is when you can't see it in the sky, and this means it's growing or waxing. So it starts getting fuller and fuller and fuller, and you can see it until it's full. And these are times for when you're planting seeds. Now, just to clarify, every day has a different kind of thing that it's good for. So it is good to get a calendar, growing by the moon calendar, or an app or something like that if you want to do it, you know, individually for each day. This is just generalised, and to be honest, what I find is it's much easier. Instead of having to go, oh, today I have to plant I don't live my life like that. I'm a bit all over the place and very in tune with stuff. So this is easier. So this is a basic one. So yep, so when it's waxing, when it's getting fuller and bigger, this is a really good time to plant things that are above ground. So crops that are going to grow above ground, like kale and courgettes and raspberries and anything like that that grows above ground. And then as the full moon happens, after the full moon's happened, we start going, the full moon starts going until it gets to the new moon where there's no moon. So that's waning. So it's waning, it's decreasing, it's going down. And that's below ground. So that's all things like your roots, like your carrots, potatoes, any crops that grow underground like that. This also includes perennial flowers. That perennial means that they come up every year, and bulbs and things like that. So perennial things are things like, hedges that are there all the time. They don't just disappear. Things like tulips, daffodils, roses, all that kind of stuff. And after the new moon, when it's starting to rise again, this is when you plant annual flowers. So annual means they come up just once for that year and then they've gone. And biannual means they come up every 2 years and then some of them disappear after 2 years, or some of them keep coming back. So this is a really simple diagram. Now the other part of this is about the water and how the moon affects the water, so things like the sea and the rain and stuff like this. So when the full moon is decreasing, the water is in the ground, in the soil, pulled down. The gravitational pull pulls it down deep into the roots and things like that. And when it's after the new moon and it's rising up to the full moon, the gravitational pull is up, so it's up into shoots and into leaves and things like that. So when it's down, in the down bit, the waning bit, after the full moon, it's good for things like pruning trees, because the sap will have all gone down, so they don't leak as much. So if you wanted to tap birch trees, for example, or pine trees for the liquid, you do that in this time after the new moon, because the sap will have risen and it's easier to get it out of the tree then, if that's what you want to do. And also there's more water for the seeds starting around the time of the new moon. So coming up to the new moon, it's still below ground, but the seeds will be getting full of the water ready. So it's really good, and it's a really good experiment to do. So today is a day where I'm going to plant courgettes and peas, and it's a good experiment to do for yourself. Plant something after the full moon that should be growing above ground, and plant something after the new moon that should be growing above ground, and compare the two, see what happens, see what you think. Now the other thing is that I want to talk to you about, here we go. So new moon is a good time for fertilising, so because the gravity is in the soil, so this time here it's good for fertilising your crops. Comfrey, nettle, things like that make really good fertiliser, because the gravitational pull is downwards. The fertiliser will go deeper into the earth. Pruning trees, that's what I was just on about, the sap, and harvesting root crops. So that's another good time for harvesting root crops. And then your full moon, if you pick your fruit just before the full moon, it's more juicy, it's heavier, it's laden with water, it's riper here. But that's not good if you're going to store the fruit for a long time, because it's storing lots of water. But this is if you're going to pick to eat. And we've talked about the crops above and below. So the other thing I want to touch on and tell you about is planting by the zodiac as well. So if you want to go into it even further, you've got the zodiac signs, which are the 12 signs, and they move. So the moon moves into the zodiac signs all the way through the year. So, and it can be in all the signs in 1 month, and it moves out and then in, and stuff like that. So if the moon is in Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces or Taurus, that's a time for planting, transplanting and grafting trees. If it's in Aries, Sagittarius and Leo, that's the time for harvesting, ploughing, pruning and weeding. If it's in Gemini, that's the time for harvesting, ploughing and weeding. So you can follow either or or both. I think to follow both it would be really quite difficult, but that's just another option as well. So let's go back to the diagram. Oh, my carrot's rolling off. So this, I'm just going to show you this again to just reiterate it and get it back into what we're doing. So the full moon, it's coming up actually at the moment, the full moon. It's the end of this week, I think. And we're in April now, April 2023, when I'm making this video. And the new moon is on the 20th of April. So if you're going to plant seeds, you want to do it in the next couple of days before the end of the week. And then after the full moon, it's time for planting bulbs and root crops and things like that until the 20th. And then the cycle starts again. So I hope that was interesting and you learned something from it. And there's lots of places that you can go to learn more. And there's lots of apps and calendars and things that you can buy. I don't particularly recommend any of them better than other ones. I think they're all quite good, but I do like the almanac books. They are very good. And you can also get an app for your iPhone. I'm not sure if they do it on Android. It's called iLuna, and that tells you the moon cycle. So if you're going to do the zodiac planting, it'll tell you which zodiac the moon is in that particular day. On this video it might be nice as well to talk to you about some books that I really recommend. So from the things that you grow in your garden and from weeds, I hate the word weeds. I'm really going to research this month who invented the word weeds and where it came from, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to find that it's quite a recent terminology and that it's probably something to do with weed killer companies. I think it probably is. So I'm going to research that and find out, and I'll let you know in a future video, because weeds are incredible and they're just plants. They are just plants, but many of them have so much medicinal properties and so many things that you can do with them, and they're fantastic. And to kill them, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it really upsets me. It really does. I really get mad about it. And weed killer is poison. It is just pure poison. It causes cancer in dogs when they're sniffing on the ground. So if you've seen somebody putting weed killer down, don't let your dog walk around and sniff. It's really dangerous. It can cause cancer in humans. Because it's toxic, it's lethal, it kills bees and pollinators, and we need the bees and the pollinators for pollinating our food. It's just awful. It leaches into the soil, into the waterways. It's disgusting stuff. So please, I beg you, if there's something that you can change this time, please don't use weed killer. It's really horrible, and there are alternatives. Number one, I would educate yourself about weeds and the properties and how flipping amazing they are, because they all do so many good things. Number two, if you really do want to kill them, there are different ways. So you can pour boiling water on them. You can wait until after it's rained and pull them up by the roots. You can put salt on the roots so they don't grow again. There's loads of different things that you can do. I think the trouble is nowadays that it's just a quick fix. Or it seems to be a quick fix. Pouring weed killer on something so it dies is just a quick thing, and you might think, well, I work a full-time job and I've got kids and I don't have time to be on my hands and knees picking weeds out. Don't do it then. Don't do it. Learn about how amazing they are and what you can do. You can eat weeds. There's loads of weeds that you can eat. You can go to your garden if they're growing in your garden, and you can make yourself a salad out of things like nettles and cleavers and dandelion leaves. It's just amazing. So that's my little mini rant over. And if you are going to buy weed killer, please research it. Please look at the ingredients. Please think about how you're poisoning the earth for your children and for animals and creatures. it's just bloody awful. To be honest, they shouldn't be selling it. They really shouldn't. It's awful stuff. So yeah, rant over for the day. I get so passionate though and so angry about it, because I think if everybody could learn the beauty of what weeds can do, they wouldn't look at them like they're an enemy. They're not an enemy. They're a plant. Anyway, enough of that. So the books that I want to talk to you about are Botanical Colour at Your Fingertips. Now, Rebecca is beautiful. She's got on Instagram and she makes all sorts of books and little magazines. Where's the other one? Let me just go and get the other magazines that she's got, if I can find them. Yes, here it is. Plants are magic, and they come out, the seasonal. They're really lovely, really lovely, and they're full of beautiful things and stories of other people that are growing and doing things. So it's really lovely. So do check Rebecca out. I'll put links for all of these in the description. This one that she's done is all about dyeing with Botanical, so dyeing fabric with botanicals, and look at the colours that come out of different things. So things like avocado skins, onion peel, alder, pomegranate, all sorts of stuff, and it's just beautiful what you can do with your fabric. And I had so much fun going through this book and dyeing my clothes and fabric. Yeah, just absolutely gorgeous. So I highly recommend that. And the other book that I highly recommend is The Wild Dyer by Abigail Booth. And this is really lovely, and it's not just about dyeing your clothes and your fabrics, but also about stitching. So it's got things that you can make, like if you want to make an apron, or you know, it's got full projects in it as well. So that's really good, a really lovely book to have and to read. Oops. And the last book that I'm going to share with you today is the Sensory Herbal Handbook by the Seed Sistas. Now, I've shared this before in other videos, and I want to share it again because it is a really amazing book. And it's all about seasonal and cyclical living. So let's get to spring. So at the moment we're in spring here in the Northern Hemisphere, and spring is all about water and leaves and clearing and cleansing. So things like nettles and cleavers are really good for cleansing your lymph. And it's all in sections. It's in seasonal sections, and then it tells you about the individual plants for that season and what they can do. And it's got all about using herbs as medicines, how to harvest, everything like that. It's a really in-depth book. So instead of buying loads of different books on stuff, this one covers so much. So I highly recommend that as well. That's another book. As you know, I'm book crackers. But yeah, they're some of my favourite ones for this kind of thing. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been such a pleasure to share what I'm really passionate about. I'm really passionate about so many things. I'm passionate about animals and creativity and women and the earth and nature and moss and lichen and all the things. But I think there's something really quite rebellious and amazing about growing your own stuff. And we live in a little terrace house with a little yard. And I know that we're blessed because a lot of people don't have outdoor space. But even if you've got a windowsill inside your flat or wherever you live, you can still grow some salad. You can still grow some herbs. You don't have to be limited. And I think there's something really amazing in today's climate to take that power onto yourself and produce something. And also, it's not just about, oh, I've got this thing and now I can eat it. It's about the connection to the food, and it's about the connection to what's going on in the world today. I'm getting really dry, so I need to have a little bit of tea. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, it's about the connection, about what's going on in the world today, and about what you can do, your little bit that you can do in your garden or yard or windowsill or anything like that. And even if you don't have the means to do any of that, you can also go and do things like picking up litter, and maybe educating yourself about, like a dandelion, let's for example say dandelion, educating yourself about dandelion and what you can do with dandelions. You can eat them, you can make them into coffee, you can use them medicinally. There's loads of different ways. Do a little bit of research, go to the library, look in books. Really get to know a particular kind of plant that you are attracted to. A dandelion is just an example. And go and sit with it and go and see what that plant brings to you. And then if you get really excited, share your knowledge with other people, because I really think it's a time for community and coming together again. There's been so much division in the world, so much horribleness going on, and I'm not going to go on another rant because I've already had one today about the weed killer. I'm not going to go on another rant about the powers that be, but what I'm going to say is we don't need to be divided. It doesn't matter who we are, what our labels are or not. That's irrelevant. What matters is what we're going to do while we're here in these human bodies on the earth. That's what really is important. So yeah, it's been lovely to share this with you, and let me know in the comments if you liked it. Let me know if you want more of this kind of stuff, and have a magical, beautiful rest of the week.